and a very good afternoon to everyone. I take a privilege to warmly welcome all of you to the second day of the training workshop on computational tools for solving dynamic models in biological systems. Like the first day, there are also two lectures today. With the kind permission of the program chair, Honorable President of DSMB, we are now going to start our today's lectures. Now, may I request Professor Dr. Maloy Banerjee to deliver his lecture today. Thank you. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Okay, so I hope all of you have enjoyed or able to rather understand what I have told all of you yesterday. Today, I'll not going to talk about any new model or anything new dynamics. Rather, what I planned for today is to give you the clear-cut idea about how to obtain or how to plot, and mainly, as per the title of my talk, how to detect the global bifurcations. In due course of my lecture, I'll explain why this is called global bifurcation and what is the difference between local bifurcation and global bifurcation. So let us consider a very simple example. This is a toy problem. If I recall correctly, because this example I have used at several places, I can't recall exactly from where I have taken this example, but if I'm not wrong, probably I have taken this example from the book by Jordan and Smith on nonlinear ordinary differential equation. This looks like very simple system, and in particular, who are working in the area of nonlinear dynamics, they can probably understand that this model is some sort of a perturbed version for the normal form of pitchfork bifurcation, but parametrization is little bit different. Okay, so let us forget about pitchfork bifurcation, etc., etc. Let us just concentrate on this particular problem. So we have dx dt equal to y and dy dt equal to x minus epsilon y minus x cube. So in this case, you just try to understand that this is a system of two coupled nonlinear ordinary differential equation. And here coupling is through the only linear term minus epsilon y. This is the main coupling term between these two equations. And if you find out the equilibrium points for this system, you can have these as three equilibrium points. And interestingly, although the parameter epsilon is involved here, that is with the model, as the problem we have discussed yesterday, in this case, you can see none of the equilibrium point depends on epsilon. Rather, they are completely free from epsilon. Now, you can perform local stability analysis of these three equilibrium points. And what you can find that E2, that is 0, 0, is always a saddle point. That means the Jacobian matrix of the given system evaluated at E2 will have one stable manifold and one unstable manifold corresponding to one positive eigenvalue and one negative eigenvalue. There is two other equilibrium points, that is E1 and E3, whose components are -1, 0 and 1, 0. And it is quite interesting to note that E1, E3 are unstable for epsilon less than 0. E1, E3 are stable for epsilon greater than 0. And for epsilon equal to 0, these two equilibriums are non-hyperbolic fixed points. So this is again a very nice example that you can see there is a change in stability behavior of the equilibrium points E1 and E3 such that they are stable for epsilon less than 0. They are they are unstable for epsilon less than 0 and stable for epsilon greater than 0. At epsilon equal to 0, they are non-hyperbolic in nature, but there is no bifurcation for the equilibrium points E1 and E3. Rather, we can see a global bifurcation as epsilon passes through the value 0. What is that? Now we can look at the phase portrait of this system at three different situations. In one case, epsilon less than 0. In another case, epsilon greater than 0. And also in between, epsilon is equal to 0. So for epsilon less than 0, you can find these are two unstable equilibrium points, -1, 0, 1, 0. 0, 0 is a saddle point. This is the unstable manifold. One is going out in this direction, another is going out in this direction, and these two are stable manifolds. As these two equilibrium points are unstable, if you continue the trajectory, what you can see that this particular manifold, that is stable manifold, is actually originated from here. So in other words, this is a heteroclinic connection between this point and this point. So that means it is a branch of the heteroclinic connection corresponding to or joining the two equilibriums. One is 1, 0, another one is 0, 0. Similarly, this is another heteroclinic connection joining -1, 0 with 0, 0. What will happen? Instead of considering epsilon equal to -0.1, if you choose epsilon equal to 0.1, then you can find two closed loops. An interesting point is that this unstable manifold of this saddle point return back to the same equilibrium point through its stable manifold. Similarly, this unstable manifold return back to the same equilibrium point through its stable manifold. So what happens that stable manifold and unstable manifold, they collide with each other, and we can think about this is a simple closed curve passing through a saddle point, emerging from a saddle point through its unstable manifold, returning back to the same equilibrium point through its stable manifold. So this is called homoclinic loop. In this case, you have two homoclinic loops. Now, if you change the parameter value from epsilon equal to 0 to epsilon equal to 0.1, then you can find these are stable equilibrium point. And now you can observe that unstable manifold, which is emerging from this point, it is actually going to converge after a couple of rotations to the stable equilibrium point here, and also this one is going to converge at this particular equilibrium point, and this 2 remains the stable manifold. So what is the most important part to observe here? If you just try to go through these 3 picture once again, that means the phase portrait for epsilon less than 0, phase portrait for epsilon equal to 0, phase portrait for epsilon greater than 0. What happens? There is no change in directions of this stable and unstable manifold. They remain same. There is no change in stability property of this particular.
কেন হারাম এটিকে ইসলাম
There is no change in stability property of this particular equilibrium point 0, 0, but there is a characteristics change in the system, and this kind of behavior, so that means can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, now it is okay.
Okay,
Please carry on.
So what happens, the direction of unstable manifold and stable manifolds, they are not getting changed, but in between you can see that 2 manifolds, stable and unstable, they coincide with each other to form a homoclinic loop, and this is called global bifurcation because it cannot be obtained from any linear stability analysis. And just keep in mind, you can may be confused that although I have mentioned there is a change in stability behavior of these 2 equilibrium points as epsilon passes through the value 0, but keep in mind that here heteroclinic loop is formed at the point 0, 0. That means property of this equilibrium point is not going to change with the variation of the parameter, and hence from linear stability analysis you cannot predict the appearance of this kind of homoclinic loop. Now the natural question arises that okay, as a preliminary means person or a newcomer in this area, how can I convince myself that okay, there might be a homoclinic bifurcation in between? Simple answer is that there is no shortcut way through which you can speculate. Rather, you need to understand the system dynamics completely. And in this case, what is the most important part? Once you can see there is a change in stability behavior of 2 other equilibrium points, that is -1, 0 and 1, 0, just try to understand from where the stable manifolds are coming to the stable equilibrium point and where the unstable manifold is going to settle down once the equilibrium points are unstable. And if you look at those manifolds quite clearly, so maybe you miss the value that is epsilon equal to 0, but what you can see that earlier you can see that these particular stable manifold, they are coming from these 2 equilibrium point, and in the next case when epsilon greater than 0, then you can see that this unstable manifold of the saddle point, they are going to converge to this equilibrium point. So in between you can speculate there is or there might be some possibility that these 2 manifolds coincide or collide, and that is the responsible factor for the existence of homoclinic orbit. Okay, so now we can discuss about the existence of some heteroclinic orbit. In this case, I'm going to consider the example which I have discussed yesterday already. So this is the Rosenwig-McArthur model with multiplicative Alley effect. Here, for having heteroclinic orbit, we are considering the Alley effect is strong in nature. Ecologically, it means that if prey density falls below the value beta, because beta lies between 0 and 1, so in the absence of predator, what you can see, the per capita growth rate of prey is negative, and this is called strong Alley effect. So if you just think about per capita growth rate of the prey population in the absence of predator, then per capita growth rate of the prey population is positive only when x lies between beta and 1. So that means there is a threshold less than the dimensionless carrying capacity, that is 1, below which the per capita growth rate is negative. So that's why it is called a strong allele. And in this case, what we are going to do, we are fixing the parameter beta at 0.2, alpha equal to 0.5, and delta equal to 0.2. So what we are going to vary? We are going to vary this parameter gamma just to see some change in the dynamics with the variation of the parameter gamma. How it will vary, why it will vary, that I have already discussed yesterday. So I am not going into that details, but if you have any query, you can ask me afterwards. I'll be happy to answer them. So here you can see, once gamma is equal to this value, I will explain later how we have actually obtained this value. So once the value of gamma is this much, keeping other parameter values fixed at the previous level, what we have obtained, you can see there is a cyan color curve. One part of this cyan color curve starting from this point 2, 0 and converging to the point 1, 0, traveling along the x-axis. There is another branch which is emerging from 1, 0 and traveling through the interior of the first quadrant and ultimately converging to the point 2, 0. So these two curves in combination constitute the heteroclinic orbit. Now at this point, the question arises, okay, earlier in case of homoclinic orbit, I talked about stable manifold, unstable manifold of some equilibrium. So here also we can have same kind of situation. Answer is yes. Here also you can definitely find out such kind of situation. So what is that situation? Now I am not going to consider this kind of ordinary trajectories just to complete the phase portrait. Rather, I am just concentrating on the manifolds of these 2 points. So the manifolds, before going to discuss about the manifold, let me give you some concrete idea that how manifold or how the subspaces they are interrelated. So in order to have a clear-cut understanding of this terminology, we consider a very simple coupled nonlinear ODE. So x1 dot equal to this much, x2 dot equal to minus x2, and you can check that 0, 0 is the only equilibrium point. As per the standard stability analysis, you can linearize. So for linearized stability, you can linearize the system at 0, 0, and you can find the corresponding linearized system as y1 dot equal to y1 and y2 dot that is equal to minus y2. And clearly you can understand that one eigenvalue is +1, another eigenvalue is -1. Now, if you calculate the corresponding eigenvectors, so eigenvector corresponding to eigenvalue 1 is 1, 0, and eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue -1 is 0, 1. And in this case, ES actually denotes the stable subspace. Stable subspace is by definition the linear span of the eigenvectors associated with the eigenvalues having negative real part. In this case, you have only one eigenvalue which is negative, that is -1. Its associated eigenvector is 0, 1, and linear span of this particular eigenvector 0, 1 is the stable subspace. Similarly, 1, 0 is the eigenvector associated with the eigenvalue +1, and therefore linear span of 1, 0 is the unstable subspace. Now what we can do, because our equations are very simple, you can directly solve this x2 equation and then substitute the solution of x2 into the first equation. Then it will become an equation involving x1 and t, and hence you can explicitly solve this equation for x1 also. If you do that, then you can find this kind of solution. that is x1t equal to this much and x2t equal to this much. Now here I have mentioned that stable manifold given by this one, unstable manifold given by this one. So here I need to say a few words in order to explain that how such kind of manifolds can be obtained. So first of all, let us try to understand that in case of linearized system, there is a stable subspace, that is linear span of 0, 1. There is an unstable subspace, linear span of 1, 0. So if I ask anyone that find out a straight line solution along which solution trajectory will converge to the equilibrium point for the linear system, probably you can easily write down the solution in the form e to the power minus t multiplied by 0, 1. In particular, solution, that means straight line solution for this given problem along which solution trajectory can approach towards the equilibrium point, that is simply y1 equal to 0. So that is the stable subspace, or it is a straight line solution along which solution trajectory will converge to 0, 0. Again, there is another straight line solution that is spanned by 1, 0 and along which solution trajectory can move towards infinity, whether it is plus infinity or minus infinity, depending upon the initial condition. But in this case, solution will looks like e to the power t multiplied by 1, 0. So that means the straight line solution can be mentioned as y2 equal to 0. Now, these are the straight line solutions of the given problem. So some specific type of solutions. What are the other solutions? Other solutions are actually rectangular hyperbolas. Why? Because you can solve this equation y1 dot, you will find c1 e to the power t. If you solve this to equation y2 dot equal to minus y2, then you will find c2 e to the power minus t. And now if you take the product y1 into y2, so that will comes out to be c1 into c2, because e to the power t will absorb e to the power minus t because they are multiplied to each other, and therefore you are left with the general solution free from t, that can be written as y1 y2 equal to constant, which is clearly equation of the rectangular hyperbolas. Now the question is that, okay, the linearized problem have two straight line solutions. One is y1 equal to 0, another one is y2 equal to 0, and other nonlinear or curvilinear solutions are given by y1 y2 equal to constant. And you know from Hartmann-Grobman theorem, as none of the eigenvalues of the given system have 0 real part at the equilibrium point, so therefore the solution trajectories of this linear system will be topologically equivalent to the solution trajectory of the complete nonlinear system in the vicinity of 0, 0. And now if you try to think about that, what will be the analogous solution trajectories for the nonlinear system corresponding to these straight line solutions, roughly, this is not the actual definition, roughly for this problem we can say those are two manifolds of the given nonlinear equations. And now we are just trying to find out that some curve or straight line along which solution will converge to 0, 0, and another curve or solution, particular type of solution along which solution will diverge to plus infinity or minus infinity. So in order to find out a solution along which the trajectory will converge to the point 0, 0, what you need to choose? You need to choose this particular quantity is equal to 0. Precisely, coefficient of e to the power t should be equal to 0. If you consider the coefficient of e to the power t is equal to 0, that means you are having x1 0 plus x2 0 whole square by 3 is equal to 0. So that means if your initial point lies on this particular parabola, then you will have the solution x1t equal to minus x20 square by 3 e to the power minus 2t, and x2t equal to x20 times e to the power minus t. But surprisingly, what you can find, just try to follow my statement, this term is absent. Once this term is absent, then from this equation, what you can find, x20 e to the power minus t is equal to x2. So if you substitute x20 e to the power minus t is equal to x2 in this equation with this particular term is absent, what you find? You find x1 equal to minus x2 square by 3. That means x1 plus x2 square by 3 is equal to 0. So this is a very fantastic result. It means if you choose a initial point on this particular curve, then solution trajectory will remain on this particular curve, or rather within this particular set at all time. That's why it is called an invariant set. And also you can prove that this particular set can be equivalent to one-dimensional Euclidean plane, and that's why it is a invariant manifold. And also along this curve, solution trajectory can approach towards the equilibrium point 0, 0. That's why it is called stable manifold. Similarly, if you are interested to find out the initial condition such that solution will diverge to plus infinity, then what you need to choose? You need to choose coefficient of e to the power minus t term. That means exponential with negative exponent should be equal to 0. That means you need to choose x20 equal to 0. And once you choose x20 equal to 0, then what will be the solution? Solution will be x2 equal to 0. So that means if you consider this particular set, then again you have solution also lies on this particular line x2 equal to 0, and along this line solution trajectory will diverge towards infinity. Clearly it is a one-dimensional vector space and it is equivalent to R1, and therefore it is an unstable manifold. Now if we look at the phase portrait, this is the phase portrait for the linear system. This one is your unstable subspace. This green vertical line is the stable subspace. So these two are straight line solutions for the given linearized version, and these are non-trivial solution trajectory for the linear system. Now if you consider the plot of the corresponding nonlinear system, what you can find? You can find this kind of structure. And now it is completely your discretion. You need to visualize that due to nonlinear system, what happened? Topologically equivalence means, just try to visualize that these solution trajectories are now stretched in such a way that this particular vertical line can be bent in this particular shape, leading to this particular position. And then consider these are all elastic strings. They are little bit deformed in such a way that these two phase portrait can be considered as topologically equivalent. Now what is most important here? This horizontal black straight line is your unstable subspace as well as unstable manifold, and this particular green colored parabola is the stable manifold, and vertical dotted green straight line is the stable subspace. And what is the statement of a part of the manifold theorem says that stable manifold and unstable manifold, they are tangential to the stable subspace and unstable subspace at the concerned equilibrium point respectively. And complete manifold system says at the same way center manifold will be also tangential to the center subspace at the equilibrium point. And of course, in order to see that particular result, you need to consider at least one eigenvalue with zero real part, or having complex conjugate eigenvalue with zero real part, but that is beyond the scope of my today's talk. Okay, so this is the explanation that how manifold and subspace, corresponding subspace, they are related. Now the question is that why I'm talking about this kind of terminology, that means subspace, manifold, etc., etc. Main point is that we need to understand this concept well in order to understand how cleverly we can write down some numerical code to detect homoclinic orbit as well as heteroclinic orbit. So next question arises, where is the relation between manifold and homoclinic orbit and heteroclinic orbit? Let me come back to the same example. For this problem, just a couple of slides back, I have shown you the heteroclinic cycle. Now I'll give you the explanation how the change in stability property or some change in the nature of the manifold takes place in order to have the heteroclinic bifurcation. So you know that there is 3 axial equilibrium points. E0 is always stable. Beta 0, which is denoted by E1, is saddle point if this condition holds, and if it is violated, then it is unstable. And E10, this is stable for gamma less than this particular threshold, otherwise it is a saddle point. Okay, now for this system, you are already familiar with this particular Hopf bifurcation threshold. These are 2 transcritical bifurcation threshold. I have already explained yesterday, but what I want to mention that in this problem, heteroclinic bifurcation threshold will be in between this transcritical bifurcation threshold and the Hopf bifurcation threshold. So for that purpose, what we can consider mainly, we need to plot 2 manifolds of 2 axial equilibrium points. One of them is beta 0, another one of them is 10. So for E1 beta 0, if you calculate the Jacobian matrix in terms of gamma, why this is in terms of gamma? You can recall that previously I have mentioned that alpha, beta, delta are fixed. We are going to vary gamma only. As we are going to vary only gamma, so that's why I have substituted all the parameter values, and at beta, I have calculated the Jacobian matrix, and as a result, I have this particular Jacobian matrix in this form. So these many decimal places I have considered just for numerical accuracy of the numerical simulations. So for this system, what you can find, one eigenvalue is always positive because it is an upper triangular matrix. Second eigenvalue may be positive, may be negative, but whatever it is positive or negative, quickly what you can find, you can find the corresponding eigenpairs. So this is the eigenpair corresponding to the eigenvalue 0.16, and this is the eigenpair, that means eigenvalue and eigenvector corresponding to this eigenvalue, this one. Similarly, you can find out the Jacobian matrix or evaluate Jacobian matrix at 10 and also find out the corresponding eigenpair. Why these eigenpair are required, I'll explain right now. Okay, so this is the plot of 2 manifolds. What are those manifolds? Unstable manifold of 10 and stable manifold of 0.2, 0. So for these chosen parameter values, alpha, gamma, delta are already specified. Here I have chosen gamma equal to 0.354. You can check that this equilibrium point 10 having one unstable manifold. Why I'm saying unstable manifold? Because if you go back to the previous slide, you can see for chosen value of gamma, this will be positive. So one eigenvalue is positive. So this one is the unstable subspace. So linear span of this particular vector is unstable subspace. Now, why this is important? This is important only for the reason for numerical simulation. So how I have calculated or how I have obtained this particular orbit, I have chosen a point which is very close to the point 1, 0. How to do that? The simple idea is that keep in mind that unstable subspace is tangential to the unstable manifold at the equilibrium point. And I have just exploited this concept. How it has been exploited? The clear-cut idea is that the unstable subspace, you can find out its direction from the eigenvector. In the previous slide, we have already obtained. So this is a vector. Think about its components are, say, maybe W1 and W2. So what will be the equation? What will be the equation of the unstable subspace? Equation of the unstable subspace will be y minus 0, because equilibrium point is 1, 0. So y minus 0 equal to m times x minus 1. M is the slope of the tangent to this particular unstable manifold. That is exactly equal to the slope of the unstable subspace. So then what will be the slope of the unstable subspace? Slope of the unstable subspace will be W2 by W1. And now what you can do, you can consider a point which lies just on the left of the point 1, 0 and in the interior of the first quadrant. How to do that? In this case, I have chosen 0.999 repeated 8 times. So therefore, what you can do, you can find out a point on the unstable subspace having x coordinate 0.49. This is the x coordinate. And then in order to have it on the unstable subspace, you can find out the corresponding y coordinate by solving the equation y minus y1 equal to m into x minus x1. So you know what is your x1. That means in order to find out that thing, you can calculate from here. And then if you simulate starting from that point and perform your simulation enough number of time step, you can get this particular solution trajectory, and which ultimately converge to the stable limit cycle. On the other hand, in case of the equilibrium point 0.2, 0, you can find one eigenvalue is negative, and that corresponds to the stable manifold of the system, also corresponds to the stable subspace of the equilibrium point for the linearized system. And also we have the eigenvector corresponding to this one. Similarly, you can find out the equation of the stable subspace passing through the point 0.2, 0. And then in order to obtain this particular stable manifold, this is the most important tricks. What you have to choose, again, you have to choose a point on this particular stable subspace, assuming as the point is pretty close to the point E1. So therefore, without any loss of generality, we can assume this is lying on the stable manifold itself. And in order to generate this stable manifold, what you can do, you can just consider the negative time integration. That means backward integration with the help of RK4 method. So instead of plus dt, you have to choose minus dt. And accordingly, you can find out these two manifold. One is unstable manifold, another one is stable manifold. And what you can see that here, the stable manifold lies above this particular unstable manifold. Precisely, stable manifold of axial equilibrium point beta 0 lies above the unstable manifold of the point 1, 0 for the parameter 0.354. And as this particular unstable manifold converges to the stable limit cycle, so therefore ultimately if you wish you can plot this particular limit cycle separately. But what is interesting, next if you change the parameter value gamma from 0.354 to 0.355, what you can see that now the unstable manifold emerging from 1, 0 lies above the stable manifold of the equilibrium point E1. And as there is a exchange into between these two manifolds, so that means earlier stable manifold was above the unstable manifold, and in this case stable manifold is below the unstable manifold. And as the system is continuous with respect to the parameter gamma, so there is a space or there is a room to speculate that these two manifold coincide with each other at some intermediate value that is in between 0.354 and 0.355, where they coincide and construct or produce a heteroclinic connection joining the point 1, 0 and point 2, 0. So that means there is a trajectory coming out from 1, 0 converging to 0.20, and there is always a trajectory starting from 0.20 and converging to 1, 0 following this particular horizontal axis. And as a result, at this particular threshold gamma, you can have this heteroclinic orbit. So it is starting from here converging to this part, and again it will start from here and converge to this part. How to do this? If it is not clear to you, I'll give you again clear-cut discussion during my next lecture through a particular example with MATLAB simulation. Okay, now the most important part in order to understand these things, that is homoclinic orbit and heteroclinic orbit, those are the quantity involved with the bifurcation of the system, that means global bifurcation. So what we need to understand precisely, that is the position of the manifold, how the position of the manifolds of the system is going to change if we have some complicated system, or just for example, if we have some system having more than one interior equilibrium point. Why I am going to talk about such kind of thing? I'm going to talk about such kind of thing because now I'm going to show you one more example in the context of population biology where you can see homoclinic bifurcation. So for that purpose, again, I return back to the same model as I have discussed yesterday, that is Bazikine type ratio dependent prey predator model. I'm not going to the explanation why this is called Bazikine type, etc., etc. Already I have discussed yesterday. And these kind of all possible bifurcations you can observe. So what is our main target here? That is to understand this homoclinic bifurcation. Okay, now this is the phase portrait of the system for these chosen parameter values alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Okay, how many equilibrium points are here? Here we have 3 equilibrium points. 0, 0. This is one interior equilibrium point. This is another interior equilibrium point. What are their stability properties? This is a saddle point. This is a stable focus. And this one is a complicated equilibrium point. Its stability behavior cannot be judged from linear stability analysis, but quite complicated analysis is required. I'm not going into that part, but just to explain that why I marked this equilibrium point in green color as if stable, because it has a non-empty basin of attraction from which if you choose the initial condition, then solution trajectory will converge to this equilibrium point. And this one, that means this particular magenta color curve is some sort of separatrix. And if you examine this particular model in detail, then you can actually verify this manifold is coming from 1, 0, which has a unstable manifold, which is a saddle point itself. Now, the most interesting point is that in this case, if you calculate the first Lyapunov number, you can find first Lyapunov number is positive. That means the limit cycle surrounding the equilibrium point is a unstable limit cycle. And another interpretation of the unstable limit cycle is that this unstable limit cycle is the basin of attraction of this stable equilibrium point. Now, the most important part is that why I am talking about this kind of stuff, because if you change the parameter value a little bit, that means if you can identify certain parameter by variation of which you can see there is a possibility that the size of the limit cycle is getting increased, and at certain threshold it will hit this particular saddle point, and therefore once it passes through the saddle point, then it will constitute a homoclinic orbit. Now the point is that in order to catch that particular homoclinic orbit, you have to understand the different kind of manifolds those are involved with this saddle point. Why this is important? That answer I'll give you at the end of this particular talk. So just to understand clear cut, this is a phase portrait. So for understanding of the homoclinic orbit, what we can do, first of all, we can just remove this particular orbit because this is a standard orbit. We can remove it. Then you can also remove other green color curve because it is starting from here, moving in this way, and ultimately it is converging to the equilibrium point 0, 0. These are also two common trajectories, and you can remove them one by one. So these are removed. This is also removed. So what we are left with? We are left with only this many curves. Among them, again, this blue color curve is a ordinary trajectory. Black color curve is a unstable limit cycle. But magenta color curves, these are actually manifolds. Therefore, if we remove some of them one by one, so then you can see the inner ordinary trajectory is now removed, and finally I can remove the limit cycle also. And now I can give you the clear-cut understanding what are the distinctive manifolds here. If we proceed further, then these are three equilibrium points. This is origin, this is saddle point, this is stable equilibrium. So what I am going to consider, I am going to consider only two manifolds of this saddle point and one manifold of equilibrium point 1, 0. That is not shown here because you can verify for this problem 1, 0 is situated far away from this particular two equilibrium point. If I want to place them in the single frame, most of the trajectory will not be clearly visible. So as a result, what I can try to do, I can show you there is a stable manifold, but keep in mind it has two different branches. Similarly, it has one unstable manifold, but again it has two branches. And now I can show you those manifolds one by one. So this one is the first manifold that is coming from 1, 0 and ultimately converging to 0, 0. Next one, it is starting from this saddle point and converging to this equilibrium point. Now you can ask me the question, how you are saying that it is starting from here and converging to this? Then you have to check with the Comet command after performing the numerical simulation. Then this one is another manifold. And again, if you check, then you can understand which one is stable and which one is unstable. Third one, this is another manifold. And as its orientation or position or shape is concerned, you can clearly understand it will emerge from here and ultimately converge to this equilibrium point. So again, it is an unstable manifold. And we are left with one more, that is this one. So these are four different manifolds. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Now, why I am giving such kind of emphasis on these manifolds? In order to capture the homoclinic orbit for this problem, what you need to do, either you can keep on calculating the manifold, this one, either this one or this one. But for this problem, it is little bit difficult because eigenvectors cannot be obtained explicitly as we have obtained for the Rosenwig-McArthur model with Alley effect, because components of equilibrium points for this system is quite complicated. But I am not saying that it cannot be done. It is doable if you have patience, if you can maintain some balance between either Mathematica and MATLAB or Maple and MATLAB, then you can do that. And actually, it was not done by me. My students have done this. I was just some sort of their friend to guide them step by step. So what can be done alternatively? You know, this is your stable equilibrium point, but it is surrounded by an unstable limit cycle. So cleverly, you can just try to obtain the change in the size of the limit cycle in order to see when it will pass through this particular point and construct the homoclinic orbit. And for that, what you can do, this is the position of the limit cycle at the end, what we can obtain just to mark its position. And then you can choose a couple of parameter values for delta, because here I have changed delta to show you the homoclinic orbit. So this is the limit cycle for delta equal to 0.83. Keeping this plot as it is, now I can choose another value of delta. So keeping all other parameters fixed, if I change delta to 0.4, with this one, you can have this particular limit cycle. And finally, around this value, that is delta equal to 0.845, you can have this particular cycle. And I have cross-verified. How it can be cross-verified, that I will show you during my next lecture through some MATLAB command, that this is your homoclinic orbit. And after that, if you choose some value which is greater than this one, then this structure will destroy it, because there is a exchange in the position of the stable and unstable manifold from where they are originated or something like that. But the point is that now you are maybe a little bit confused. Earlier I was talking about plotting of manifold, and now I am talking about the case of plotting of limit cycle. So what I am trying to say, my point is that by which technique, either by plotting the manifold or by plotting the limit cycle, you are going to catch the homoclinic orbit, that is completely your choice. So what you can do, instead of considering the limit cycle, the three different values of parameter delta I have mentioned, that is 0.83, 0.84 and 0.845. For these three values of delta, you can just plot the unstable manifold of this particular saddle point, which is emerging from this one through this direction. So what you can see for 8.3, it will start from here and will converge to origin. For 0.84, it will start from here and again converge to origin. But for 0.845, of course, this is not the correct parameter value, correct up to 8th or 9th decimal place. Rather, roughly, it is correct up to 3rd decimal place. In this case, you can see trajectory, it is starting from here, moving in this way and ultimately coming pretty close to the equilibrium point. Then the main challenge is that you have to stop the trajectory at this particular point, because this is a continuous system and you cannot find out accurately the homoclinic bifurcation threshold, as well as you cannot find out the exact homoclinic orbit, because the equations are not explicitly solvable. So for numerical approximation, you need to round off the simulation as well as parameter value at certain step. So what we can say, up to third decimal place, 0.845 is the homoclinic bifurcation threshold, and this one is the corresponding homoclinic cycle. Either you can have it through limit cycle, or you can have it through the plot of the manifold. So this is all about my today's first talk. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice lecture. So far we have received one question. How can we choose parameters to implement this ecological model?
Okay, that I have already discussed yesterday. Let me quickly check that whether we can have it here or not. No, this is not available here. Okay, the point is that no, I don't have these things. So first of all, what you can find, just for example, in this case, as for nullcline, I explained it yesterday. There are certain restriction on alpha. There is one family of nullcline you will be having for alpha greater than 1, and another family for alpha less than 1. So that will give you two possible situations, either alpha greater than 1 or alpha less than 1. So in this case, this kind of bifurcation will appear for alpha greater than 1. So that's why we have chosen alpha greater than 1, which is equal to 2. Then once you calculate the components of equilibrium point, already you know there are two possibilities, alpha greater than 1 and alpha less than 1, just depending upon the shape of the nullclines. Then you will have two different restrictions. One is the positivity of U star, that means equilibrium component of U, and positivity of V star, that means equilibrium component of V. Once you apply the positivity condition with the restriction in one case alpha greater than 1 and alpha less than 1, then what you will find? You will find some implicit relation satisfying the parametric conditions such that U star and V star is positive, and which will give you some relation in between beta, gamma, and delta, and then you can apply your judgment. One quick clarification is that in this case, you can actually prove for the feasible existence, all the time we should have beta at least greater than gamma plus delta. Roughly, it is a rough estimate, because we need some sort of resulting positive growth for the predator. If this magnitude of this quantity is less than this particular magnitude, then what will happen? Growth rate will be, predator will be negative, and they will go to the extinction. So some sort of rough estimation, beta should be greater than gamma plus delta. Again, if you go back to a simplified ratio dependent model, that means consider gamma delta equal to 0, then quickly you can find a clear cut restriction that beta should be greater than gamma. So this will give you a guideline that how this beta and gamma will be related. And once you have this restriction, that means now you can count alpha is either greater than 1 or less than 1, beta is greater than gamma, third, beta should be greater than gamma plus delta. And now if you apply all these things, then you are free to choose. If you choose gamma equal to 1, delta equal to 2, then your beta will be at least greater than 3. If you choose gamma equal to 0.2, delta equal to 0.1, then you can choose gamma equal to 0.4, some beta equal to 0.4, something like that. And other restrictions you will have, still you have so many different conditions. What are those conditions? Stability of equilibrium point, bifurcation, that means Hopf bifurcation, etc. So many conditions are there. Once you look at all those conditions and then proceed step by step, you will get some idea that what will be the choice of the parameters.
Thank you very much. The next question is, can we apply the growth model here for different parameters? This is not clear. I think the question is not clear. Okay, let's go to the next question. How we predict the bifurcation parameter in this case?
This thing I have already explained yesterday from just position of the null line, or that means from the equation which have less involvement with different conditions. That means explicitly, if you can find out from some condition, then that would be the best choice for the bifurcation parameter. But keep in mind, just quickly, I can give you one example that here I have mentioned. Here I have mentioned that this is the choice for homoclinic bifurcation. So just for this combination, alpha equal to 2, beta equal to 1.21, gamma equal to 0.6, delta equal to 0.845. So here I have explained the bifurcation by changing the parameter delta. What you can do, keeping delta fixed, if you change gamma a little bit, then you can see that homoclinic cycle disappear. Again, keeping gamma at 0.6, if you change beta from 1.21 to 1.2, you can see that the homoclinic loop is disappear. So that means each of them or any one of them can be chosen as the bifurcation parameter. But most of the time, what we usually habituated to do, we mainly consider the parameter which can be obtained more or less explicitly from the bifurcation results. Those are chosen as the bifurcation parameter. That is analytical judgment. And most of the time, what I do, you can ask me the question afterwards, that what you are doing in your case. In my case, most of the time I see which parameter is responsible for the bending and movement of the null lines in order to have the desired shape of the null lines in order to capture the bifurcation scenario.
Thank you, sir. So we have a couple of questions remain. The ratio dependent model is not well posed at the origin. So how can we analyze the dynamics around the origin?
You can look at the paper by Shigui Ruan, Fayana Berezovskaya, and also our paper, Fayana Berezovskaya and Ruan's paper. Those were appeared in 2001. Our paper appeared in 2012, where we have given how it can be converted into a well-posed problem. The concept of the concept that this problem is not well-posed is a completely wrong idea. This is actually initiated by a group of people, and probably you can see the title of this book, that how species interact. If you are interested, you can go through this book. This is actually written by Roger Oddity. He had given why ratio dependent model is well posed. This is not at all ill posed. Only thing is that you had to define the dynamics at origin separately in order to have the continuity of the system at the origin.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question is, could you please say something about the basic understanding of Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation?
Basic understanding is that it is a point of intersection of saddle node bifurcation curve and Hopf bifurcation curve. That is the simplest and basic understanding about the Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation.
The next question is, please explain about Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 3 and how can we plot the corresponding figure?
Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 3 means you have to plot the three-dimensional bifurcation surfaces, not curve, rather surfaces. And for that, you have to find out the Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 3. Normal form you have to derive, and once you have the equation of the bifurcation curves, and I don't know whether you are aware of the fact that there is also Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 4, and but the point is that in order to plot the Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 3, you need to consider three-dimensional bifurcation plot in order to have this clear-cut visualization of the Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation of codimension 3.
Okay, the next question is when we analyze the bifurcation direction of a model.
Bifurcation direction does not make any sense, although
Sense,
it is available in several literatures, and I'm quite fed up with those kind of things. Bifurcation direction means in some model what will happen, system will become unstable from stable if you change the parameter value from lower to higher. In some other model it will change from higher to lower, and these phenomena in some paper people have mentioned as direction, but that precisely does not make any sense. And I'm not going to blame any particular person or any group of researchers. I know it very well from where this confusion arises. They have made the mistake, that is direction of Hopf bifurcation, which was initiated by Hassard, Kazarinov and Wan, just to explain what will be the direction of the limit cycle. In case of most of the prey-predator model, if I ask you a question, I don't know how many of you know the answer to this question, that most of the time in case of prey-predator model, we can see the limit cycle are counterclockwise, that means anti-clockwise, not clockwise. I don't know whether you know the answer. The simple understanding is that most of the time what we consider prey and predator is specialist in nature. So what happens, that abundance of prey will support the growth of the predator. So what happens, that prey population is in a growing mode, at the same time it supports the growth of the predator, so there is a growth in the predator population. So trajectory moves like this. There is a critical threshold of the predator. If it goes above that, then what will happen, there will be huge grazing pressure on the prey population. As a result, what will happen, that grazing pressure on the prey will be below their growth rate. That means it cannot compensate their growth rate, so there will be a decline in the prey population, but still predator is in a growing mode. So as a result, then trajectory after moving this step, it will start moving in this particular direction. So once it reaches this particular threshold, so that means some prey density, what you can see, there is a decline in the predator population. Now it will move in this way. And once predator population comes down to certain level, as well as prey also is in a declining mode, after that predator population will be still in the declining mode, but due to relax in the grazing pressure on the prey can again start growing. So therefore rest of the part of the trajectory will move in this way. So this is the reason of the cycle. So that is the most important part of the Hopf bifurcation, that means direction of the limit cycle, whether it is clockwise or counterclockwise. I know, but I am not going to mention their name. Due to some researchers, it comes into the picture what is the direction of the bifurcation. Another way, that is not in ecology, this direction of bifurcation is important in the context of epidemiology in order to understand the backward bifurcation, but I am not going into that part for this discussion.
Thank you, sir. Still, we have some questions. What is flip bifurcation? Flip bifurcation.
Flip bifurcation is mostly happen in case of discrete dynamical system, not in continuous dynamical system. That is a bifurcation for which one eigenvalue is equal to -1, and that corresponds to the flip bifurcation.
Next question is, can we apply bifurcation analysis to PD based model?
Definitely. There is some standard book on bifurcation analysis for PD.
So next question is, what is the backward bifurcation?
This is in the context of epidemiology, and I think within this limited time I cannot give you the precise answer, but simply I can say if you can find that there is a endemic equilibrium point for R0 less than 1, and that bifurcate from the disease free equilibrium point, that is called backward bifurcation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is, can we get more than one bifurcation parameter?
In case of codimension 2 or higher, definitely you should have more than one bifurcation parameter. In case of codimension 1 bifurcation, there will be one bifurcation parameter. In codimension 2, there will be two bifurcation parameter, and so on.
Okay, so probably this is the last question. One of the participant refers one of your paper, spatiotemporal pattern formation in Rosenwig-McCourter model, effect of non-local interactions. And you discussed about Turing bifurcation curve. Could you please explain a little bit about
Impossible. Impossible.
Yes, I know. And I would just like to, MD Ariful Islam, Professor Maloy Banerjee gave a lecture on that, particularly on effect of non-local interaction. There was a lecture. We organized that lecture on maybe in March, on last March by BSMB. Okay, so is there any more question or comments from the participants? Okay, I think no. Thank you very much, Professor Maloy Banerjee, for your wonderful lecture. So, Haider sir, should we have 15 minutes or 10 minutes break?
Yeah, I think Professor Banerjee, how would you like to 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
10 minutes. 10 minutes is enough.
Okay, so enough 10 minutes.
Okay.
After.
Okay. So after 10 minutes, we will start our next lecture. And of course, we will remain in the same link. By this time, please make you comfortable. And like the previous day, you can also check your MATLAB, whether it is working or not, because in the next lecture, Professor Maloy Banerjee will show how to have how to draw the bifurcation diagram using MATLAB.